What is up, my veggies? My name is VTR, and welcome back to another movie review. And yesterday, I kind of gave a little hint of a movie, a little kind of told y'all what movie this was going to be in my Rise of Skywalker review. Because last night, I went and saw, with my friend Cody, we went and saw Sonic the Hedgehog. One of my most highest anticipated movies of this year. And the fact that with the redesign and the movie being pushed back and all that stuff, I legit was excited for this movie. Now, I do have a little story to tell in this video. It's part of the review, but it's also just a story that I want to tell about our whole day yesterday. I want to get to talk about the actual movie itself first. So much of this movie happened. So much. Like, I'm like sitting there like watching a bunch of this movie and I'm like, bruh. So the movie starts out just with, we see Sonic's homeworld and you're like, oh my goodness, it looks so nice. There's some references to the actual game here. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's cool. And we get to see some references to things that, there's a reference to the echidnas, which I'm not going to give any more of that. I'm just saying there's a little thing pointed out about them at the beginning of the movie. And we get to see what's up with the rings and how they're portals. And that factors into the plot very much with the rings and how they work. And that's really, really cool. And it's the fact that we see how Sonic has been living on Earth for years. And he knows Earth. He's never talked to anyone though, but he's been on Earth for years. And he's just now done he's caused an electrical surge that has them have to call Robotnik. And he's out looking for Sonic, and Sonic teams up with our main character. For our other main character, I forgot the character's name is Tom. I forgot the actor's name. But he teams up with him, or as Sonic calls him, Donut Lord. It's a little bit of a giveaway, but I'm going to just mention that anyway. And their chemistry works so well throughout all this movie, and I love it. And like, when Sonic isn't on screen, this movie is still enjoyable. Now, and this movie didn't suffer some of the tropes of these CGI live-action hybrids, to where it feels like we have to worry about these other things. It doesn't feel like Smurfs. It doesn't feel like Hop. It doesn't feel like Alvin and the Chipmunks. It doesn't feel like Yogi Bear. It doesn't feel like Scooby-Doo. This feels like Sonic, because one, they're actually focusing on Sonic. The story revolves, yes, Tom, the main guy, the main human guy, has a side plot, but it's not as big as, it's not cared upon as much as it's worried about on Sonic. And that is a good thing. The fact that the movie focuses on Sonic for most of the movie. Like, and when Sonic's not on screen, the human characters are really entertaining. Obviously, Jim Carrey as Robotnik is freaking fantastic, and I love how they're actually to catch his obsession with technology, and it shows how some people depend on technology a little bit. I did feel a little bit of a social commentary in there at one little point, but I don't want to get into all that. But like, they really captured Robotnik in a good way, and just how he acted like Robotnik and was just like really crazy, and like he was extremely smart. And I loved how they handled this movie, and the fact that this is a Sonic origin story. And I do like what's being done with Sonic in this movie, and it's so fun to see some of the things, the interactions with some of these characters, and it's shot fantastically. And the redesign stuff, where you see where that Sonic's in here with the new design, it's barely noticeable. That now I did hear that there was a reflection in a window of the original design still there that wasn't taken out, but I didn't notice that. But it was there. And this movie legit had me on the edge every time something that called back to one of the games or one of the cartoons or something. My friend Cody just kept nudging me. He's like, ah, ah, ah. I'm like, yes, I know, I see it. Oh my gosh, I know. Like, it was crazy. And I'm just like sitting there throughout this entire movie, like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, that's actually, like, and I was thinking, I was like, wait, when's this gonna happen? And it took a while for it to happen, and it did, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of glad I waited on that. And it's the fact that the characters, the female character in this movie, the love interest, the wife of Tom in this movie, she is a very nice character. Even though she's not in the movie as much as the other characters, she's still good. I can't remember what movie I've seen her in. I know I've seen her in something else, but I can't put my finger on it. But she was really good in this. Every supporting character is just really... Robotnik has this little henchman or second in command guy, and Robotnik is very clear that he does not like people. Like, he depends on his technology and everything, and the Easter eggs throughout this movie they're completely insane. They're everywhere in this movie. Like, I'm sitting here throughout most of this movie, I'm like, oh my goodness, I get that reference. I see that reference. Oh my goodness, that's a reference to one of the zones in the game, and it's just the fact of... And everybody said that don't like the fact that this movie... Some people did complain a little bit about how this is all on Earth. I don't mind that, honestly, because it's done well. It doesn't feel like... And Sonic's not having to learn about the world that much. He does learn about one thing, but that's about it. And like, throughout this entire movie, you want to see what happens with Sonic. You want to see what... And you feel bad for Sonic in this movie at some point. You want to cry with this hedgehog. You're just like, I want to hug him. Now imagine those emotional scenes with the original design. You would not want to hug that thing. But the fact that we had the redesign makes this look so much better. And the movie is just so well shot, and so many references, and just so much is done to just have pure love and enjoyment with this movie. And I frankly just was on the edge of my seat the whole freaking time. And just like watching this movie, I'm sitting there like, what? They actually went there with some of this stuff, and I'm like, so glad this... And these video game movies are turning the industry around, which is insane. Because look at Detective Pikachu, then look at this. Honestly, these video game movies are getting better. They've already broke the video game curse. Now, personally, there are video game movies that I personally liked. Like, there was the Tomb Raider movie from a few years ago, and also the Ratchet and Clank movie I liked. But with that being said, the movie was still very entertaining, and there was nothing I hated. I cannot say there was really anything that bothered me. Just, I was having so much fun. And when them credits start coming up, the flashy animated credits, don't you leave that theater seat. Don't you dare. Because there's something in that. It teases for a future movie. And I'm not going to give it away, but... Oh, I might talk about this on my podcast as soon as I get my podcast back up and going. But guys, I'm looking forward to some more Sonic. Because what they teased at the end of this movie, oh, I was so shocked. And apparently that wasn't in early screenings. So I'm so glad to see that was put in, because it basically confirms they're planning on getting a sequel to this movie. And I love that so much that we're going to get a sequel to this movie. And it's the fact that this movie did so doggone well. My hair looks amazing. Why did I have to say that? But this movie was so freaking good. Like, I was just over the hills with this movie, just watching it the whole time, loving every second of this movie. And I'm just like, bro, there's not a minute of this movie where I am bored. There's not. And so far, out of the 3 movies I've seen so far this year, Doolittle, Birds of Prey, and now this, so far, this is my favorite movie of the 3 I've seen so far. And that's not saying a lot with how much of a disappointment Doolittle was. But it is saying a lot because of how much I really, really liked Birds of Prey. Did I say Suicide Squad a minute ago? I think I did. The fact is, though, that this movie just is fan-freaking-tastic. Like, there's nothing that really just bothered me about this movie. There's nothing that really was just like, I couldn't stand that being on screen and just really just did not want to have to sit through some stuff, which is fine by me. Just something, like, this movie was great. There was nothing that I was bored with. There's nothing that I was like, okay, Now, was a fart joke. I don't remember there being that many fart jokes and poop jokes, but there was. I think maybe 1 or 2. I can't remember if there was more than 1. But I think there was a few more, and I was like, oh. But that didn't ruin the movie for me. And there's some jokes in this movie that I'm like, and those of you who are complaining about the meow scene not being in the trailer for the new Sonic anymore, the meow scene's still here. I was going to tell you that I was like, I thought they were going to leave that out. I thought they probably should have, but whatever. And just the fact that this movie is just so good, and I loved every minute of it. I didn't want to leave the theater. I didn't leave the theater the whole time we were at the movies watching this movie. And let me tell you guys a little story before I give my rating for this movie. So me and Cody were supposed to go with a friend of ours. I'm going to leave his name. I'm not going to say his name. Let's just say his name is Paul. That's not his name. I don't know anyone named Paul. So let's say his name is Paul. Paul was supposed to come get me and Cody yesterday and take us to see said film. He did not do that. Wait, it's Sunday, not Friday. It's Sunday. What's wrong with me? It's Sunday. I thought yesterday was Friday. What the heck is wrong with me? But Friday, he was supposed to come get us, and we were supposed to go see the movie. We waited and waited and waited. He didn't come. He was supposed to take us and pay for our movie and everything, and he didn't show up. We were pretty ticked off. Not gonna lie. So we wound up having to pay for the movie ourselves, and because we waited so long, we didn't need to go until a 9:30 showing. And there's more to that story, but I'm not going to get into all that. I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story. But this movie was so good, and I cannot say anymore how much I loved it. And the only movie that's coming out this year that I think could top this as my favorite of the year is Scoob. But as of right now, I don't think any movie coming out this year besides Scoob could top this. Because there's nothing that coming out this year that is like, that's going to be better. That's going to be better. People are probably going to go, obviously Onward and Soul are going to be better. Me personally, I do want to see those movies, but I don't think they're going to be better than this. That's just my personal preference. Everybody has their opinions, and I just hope that some things work out with this movie overall. And this, I really hope when it gets released on Blu-ray and digital and 4K and all that, we get a cut of the original movie. I hope we get that, because I want to see how it looked with the old design. I want to see how the movie looked with the old design, because I'm just curious how much more I would hate it, how much I would have hated it with that design. I'm very curious if we'll get a cut with the old design, because I know a lot of people want it, just to be able to see what it was like. And honestly, some critics who are saying bad things, which a lot aren't. There's one specific critic, which I have a video planned that I'm going to talk about that critic, who was just bashing the movie for no reason, saying it was bad. Not the worst thing he's ever seen, but saying it was bad. Which it's not a bad movie in the slightest. It's good. Now, is this anything jaw-dropping, downright amazing? I can't say that, but it is probably my favorite movie in a long time. Like, if this came out last year, like it was supposed to, with the redesign, it would have been really hard not to put this at number one for the top 12 movies of this year, of that year. So far, if I had to rate the movies that I've seen so far, from worst to best, it'd go Dolittle, Birds of Prey, and Sonic. Don't know why my mind just blanked like that. But the movie overall, I'm going to give it a solid 5. It's like, wait, you didn't even give your favorite movie of last year a solid 5. I don't even think I did. I give it a solid 5. I ain't gonna lie, there's nothing I hated about this movie. Like, legit, there was nothing I really just was like, ugh, except for the fart joke. But it was literally not that much to do with that. All the other comedy was able to counteract that. And everything else I saw within this movie was just like, what? Like, I was completely blown away by how this movie was handled and how it actually didn't look bad because of the redesign. I was fearful that having the redesign, even though it looked better, having to implement it into the movie itself would look very bad because I had to replace it with the previous design. But it's good. That's all I have to say, is that this was a good movie. An extremely good movie. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, all links to my stuff will be in the description. I'll get to my Birdemic review maybe tomorrow. Just depends on how I feel. But I will get to my Birdemic review. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!